Hello and welcome to Jennifer Natters, my knitting and nattering video podcast. I am Jennifer and I will be your host today. I'm working without show notes because I know if I have to write out show notes, I will not actually get around to doing this, and it is almost 10 o'clock. So we're going to wing it and hope this comes out all right. Today is the 27th of September. I think it's been a week and a half since my last update. And hi, it hasn't even been that I didn't have time to podcast as long as I do it in the evening at 10 o'clock at night. But every night it would get to 9:30 and I'd just be like, I don't want to get up. I just want to sit here and knit. So that's what I did. I have a finished object this week. This is my 3-color cashmere cowl by Joji Locatelli. This stitch marker, which is now right over the bridge of my nose, is how far I was when last I showed it last time on the podcast. And that was where I had run out of my teal yarn. And someone kindly sent me their yarn. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but it's slightly darker from there on up. I know in my project photos it's much darker visually. I guess you can kind of see it. But yeah, I finished the stripy section and then the pink textured section, the ultramarine lace section. I have not washed or woven in the ends on this. And then I didn't have very much teal left, so it's supposed to be bound off in your color B, which for me is the teal. So I just switched back to the ultramarine, my color A, one I started with. And yeah, I have finished the cowl. Most of the ends on the inside, I wove them in as I went, so I just need to trim them, and then it's the one at the end, and I think there's one other one where I wasn't able to weave the end in as I was going because of the way the pattern was. So yeah, this will be a nice big heavy thick cowl to go under a coat. This is going to go in the box of stuff for the cousins, which the cousins are here now, but I still haven't gone through and woven in all the ends on. My 2-year-old was playing with my hair earlier, and she pulled that strand out of my braid. But yeah, this will go in the box for the cousins, and hopefully someone will enjoy it. Excuse me, now I've got the hiccups. If no one wants it, they can give it back. And I would certainly wear it. I mentioned last week, if you watched last week, at the end, I mentioned that I misplaced a sock. I think it was at the end, that I misplaced my sock knitting bag. The good news is, it was found, I believe my last podcast was Tuesday night. So Wednesday evening, when I took my eldest child to Rainbows, I found this hanging on a post at the far end of a field, and I snatched it up and I looked inside, and there was my completed sock. That was the only thing in the bag, the completed sock. So I'm very happy to have my completed sock back, but where did the other sock and the ball go? Well, on the other end of the field, the land that was closer to our home, we had passed, it had been bin lorry day. Sorry, something just fell over there. It had been bin lorry day, and I had seen a very bedraggled, sad lump of pink under one of the bins. So after we dropped my 6-year-old off at Rainbows, I went back and I recovered this, and one end was in the drain, the gutter, but it wasn't Like it was just hanging. There was nothing attached to it. So we came home and I got our toy rake and I went back and I tried to dredge the drains, but all I found was leaves and stuff. So I weighed the sock and it is 40 grams. And when the wool was dry and I'd picked out all the little bits and everything, I weighed it and it is 40 grams. So I should have enough to knit another sock. And if I even just get it down to the toe, I can finish it with a contrast yarn. And then today I saw online that Botanical Yarns, I believe is the name of the company. See, don't have show notes. Botanical Yarns, the dyer behind Botanical Yarns, who was at the Perth Festival of Yarn, was made redundant at work. She lost her job. And so she was having a sale on everything in her online shop to liquidate some cash, turn her assets back into money she could use for other things. And there had been a particular skein at Perth that I'd had my eye on. I wound up from her buying a gray skein that had like a rainbow. So it'd be one of the ones where you knit with gray and then you just have a flash of the rainbow. I bought that one, but there was a purple one where it was the gray and then it was a purple gradient that had really been calling my name. I had to sit with my back to her booth when we were having our conversational hour. Otherwise I would have gone back and bought it. So I bought it, and she also had what looked on my phone to be a hot pink mini. The color name was plum, something plum, but it looked to be a hot pink mini. So my hope is, it was a 20 gram mini, even if it's not a perfect match, if it is close enough, then, I can do, heck, I could probably do the cuff and the toe in a different color and no one will see that under my trousers and in my sock or in my shoe. So fingers crossed I may be able to recover this. But yeah, the needle, which is the one I stabbed myself with, it is one of my interchangeable Chiaogu, one of my interchangeable Chiaogu sock needles, the 2.0, which is what I knit most of my 4-ply socks with. Not my 4-ply, my fingering weight socks with. It's the one I stabbed myself in the leg on this very podcast a few weeks back. So I don't have that anymore, and I've also lost then the cable that was on it as well. But I started a new sock, and I ordered online a 2.0 Haya, and this is the non-sharp one, so I won't stab myself in the legs. And this is a fixed circular for my socks. So I will talk about my new socks in a bit. Works in progress, finished object. Blessedly recovered knitted project. Another thing I ordered from the Botanical Yarns website was little tags you can put on your knitting project bags that say this bag belongs to, and then you can write your email or phone number or whatever so that people can contact you if they find your missing project bag. The other work in progress that I have, I guess in my first work in progress, is the Naranj cowl, and that's by Hilary Smith Calais. I mentioned last time I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and I didn't look it up, so I still don't know how to pronounce her last name. Callis, Smith Calais. This is Ripples Crafts. This cowl is Fiber Space 4-ply scrumptious. This is Ripples Crafts on her Merino Yak silk lace, which I think is called something like Queen King. It's named after a mountain and it's Gaelic, and I don't know how to pronounce that either. And this is the Glencansip in Autumn colorway, which is about the only kind of autumn colorway I could do, where it has some orange and gold, but also pinks and purples. And this is a cowl. Last time I showed it to you, I was just at the point where I would join it in the round, and then it sat there for a while because I was like, oh no, I need to look up the instructions for when you join it in the round. Knit in the round. So, could have done that one. But since then I have done another 2 repeats of the chevron pattern. It's kind of a feather and fan, but it's more chevron-y. I've done a few modifications. I made the top wider when I cast on to try to make the front of the cowl shorter when wearing it. I don't know if I did a good job of that or not. And the written pattern, you do increases every row before you do every repeat before you do it in the round. And then after you join in the round, it's every other repeat. But I have increased, I'm doing increases every repeat to make it, my shoulders are wider than hers, and I've got a lot more in front than, we'll call her Hillary, Miss Hillary. So yeah, I need a larger cowl. And I really like that style of cowl, the shawl cowl. It is absolutely my favorite. And there is one being released at Yarndale tomorrow before I even get this uploaded. That is absolutely gorgeous, and it comes in a kit, and I'm hoping some of them make it online after because it is so beautiful. So hopefully soon I will be talking about that here. Although at the rate of things I want to knit, it'll be like 3 years from now. I did work on my Cozy Memories blanket. So it is this row, the pink, the blue, the seafoam, the orange, my first proper speckle yarn, and then the green. So stitch marker, 2 stitch marker, that's what I have added, and that squares it up so it is 6 by 6. And I don't have any particular rhyme and reason when choosing my colors. I tend to, when it's time to pick the next square, I dump out a bunch of colors, and then I just try to go with something like here. I wouldn't put a yellow or a blue, and then here I wouldn't do a yellow, a blue, or an orange, so on and so forth. Although sometimes my children help me, and then it's kind of anybody's guess what color they will recommend. My 6-year-old likes to count how many of each color I have and then pick a color that's not highly represented. And my 2-year-old just takes whatever her favorite color is and says use that one next. So very scientific. And yeah, so that is my Cozy Memories blanket, which I absolutely love, but I haven't worked on in a few days because I squared it off and I thought, nope, we need to set that aside. So we will have it for the cowl, for the thing. So I finished this cowl and worked on the other cowl. And when I found my sock, I have slightly less, but I have some hope that the 4 inches almost, it's probably about 4 inches of sock cuff that I had knit will show up somewhere. Like I'll find it hanging from a bush or something. Although we've walked through the woods that way, the way that we had gone, where I would have dropped it on the way home from gymnastics. We've walked that way several times and I haven't seen it yet. And since when I'm out with Catherine and we're walking that way, I have the pram, so I can't really go explore the woods. But maybe tomorrow I will suggest that we go for a walk in the woods and look for my knitting. That's what I'll be doing. So I started a new sock, and look, I wanted to finish it, but there was no way I was going to finish this toe and have time to talk. I started it exactly a week ago. I did like that much of the ribbing. And then on the Saturday I knit to there, and since then I have done all of it and turned the heel and started the toe cuff. So this is one of the yarns I picked up at Perth. This is a sock set from Lay Family Yarns, and the colorway is something Regalta, but I love this. It's blue and speckly, and then this is a burgundy which matches the speckles, and the pattern I'm doing is Lemieux by Isolde Teague from one of her Knitworthy collections a few years ago. And the thing that is special about this one is that it's not your standard afterthought heel. It is knit as an afterthought, but because it's an unusual construction, the pattern recommends that you knit a distance down the foot, then put the, go back, put the heel in, and then see how long you want the rest of the foot to be, because it might be a different. But what you do, there is gusset decreases on this one, which is the standard complaint of an afterthought or short row heel, is that it doesn't provide enough space for the widest part of your foot. So this one, when you do the yarn just to hold your place, you do a couple of rows, and one of those rows is an increase. So you add in all these extra stitches and then decrease them down after you go back to knit this. And then here, you decrease most of them along here, and then some of them along here. And when wearing it, that gives you a more squared heel, which is the kind of shape you get from a heel flap and gusset. So yeah, I've done that, and I'm doing shaped toe shaping. So this is the left foot. Although I got this far and I realized that I should have started the toe a little earlier. So I am changing the decreases, and now I'm trying to just decrease it away. But I'm going to do a few rounds, maybe one more decrease round every other time on both sides, and then decrease on both sides every round to kind of end those off quickly. And then I'll try it on before I break the yarn, and if it doesn't work, then I will rip back a little bit and redo the toe a little sooner. So yeah, I've got it in my Lay Family Yarns project bag, my new knitting needles that I bought to replace the ones I lost, and my sock that is almost done in 1 week. Hooray! So aside from knitting needles, I do have some acquisitions to show you. Most recent acquisition first, because it's on top. This is a Ripples Crafts in her regular reliable sock yarn, the fingering weight one. And the color is Learning to Swim version 1. And it is a fundraiser for the RNLI, which I believe that initialization expands to the Royal National Lifeguard something. And they are a volunteer Coast Guard service for the islands and the locks, and I think they even do like the Thames and stuff in London. But I know they are a volunteer Coast Guard service. They rely on donations, and one of the trash rags, the hate rag, honestly, here in the UK, recently published an expose saying that if you donate to them, some of that money gets sent overseas. And it turns out it is such an incredibly tiny part of their budget that it's ridiculous to even worry about. They are very upfront with the fact that some of the money they get, they do send overseas to teach life-saving knowledge. I don't really know how to put it, but to help other parts of the world do what they do, teach people to swim, things to help keep people from drowning in other places. So Helen of Ripples Crafts came up with this colorway, and one that's very similar. It doesn't have quite, I think it's this lighter blue that the other one doesn't have, and it's dyed in blocks. This is in her kind of storms technique, where the colors are all kind of all over the place. I couldn't picture what the block one would look like knitted up, so I didn't. I picked this one. She's charging £1 extra for this, which I believe brought it to 16 pounds of skein, and then £6 are being donated to the RNLI, and she has asked if she could donate specifically to the fund that goes overseas, but I don't recall what answer she got. So yeah, that's my new sock yarn. And then I have minis. Some of the minis I had ordered a while ago showed up, and I have already, one of them is already in. I think I've used two of them. I think this kind of seafoam one and this one are both from the first ones I'll talk about, which is the Hedgerow Fibers. So I got two mini sets, and this one is 20-gram minis, and I think it was 5 20-gram minis. This is set 41, and then I got this one, which is the skinny mini. So these are 10 grams, and I believe this was a 6. No, those say 20 grams. And these say 20 grams. These are 20 grams, and they're 85 meters per skein, and these are 20 grams, and they're 73 meters per skein. So they're both 20 grams, and they were each a set of 5 or 6. I don't really remember. And some of them have already been skeined up. This must be the other set because it feels a lot smaller. And she also sent this one's a 10 gram, just a wee extra skein. So I skeined up a bunch of these to add in, and I will skein up. I sit there and I do 4 or 5 minis, and I throw them into my big bag of minis, which is full of balls of minis. And then a few days later, I got, these are 10 gram minis, and this is from Wild Rose Yarn, and all of these minis I'm ordering online, I'm finding on Etsy. And this came with a stitch marker, which is the butterfly one, and this copper butterfly one, and on the other side of the butterfly it says created for you. And this was on Etsy, and it was a 10 gram mystery bundle. Although I think there was a picture and it was these yarns, so this is what the picture at least looked like to me. So these are a lot of more pastel-y toned, slightly variegated, possibly a little speckled, but it's the softer colors. Because when I started my blanket, I started with an advent calendar that had a lot of these more muted purples and greens, and then I went out and bought a bunch of bold colors, and so now I am trying to add in more. This is the corner I started in, so there was the one hot pink, and then I've been adding some other ones, but I do want some more muted colors in here, especially in the purples and the greens and the pinks, more so than the yellows or the oranges. So yeah, that is kind of me caught up for knitting. Hello, sorry about that. This is me the next day. I cut out a whole section where I talked about the kerfuffle currently happening with Isolde Teague, Lane Magazine, and Playful Day, Kate O'Sullivan. I have, in the clear light of day, decided nothing I said helped and possibly caused harm, so I have cut it all out. Yeah, that I don't have anything to add. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can Google it or check out any of the three I just mentioned for hopefully decent apologies, or at least links to people who have a better explanation. So yeah, just cut that whole section out. And then last night I couldn't remember what we had done last week, so I'll just very quickly, we had, see, now I'm all kind of out of sorts. That's fine. Christina, my 6-year-old, had her rainbow signing in ceremony, and my 2-year-old climbed to the top of a water tower thing. They were at a soft play, indoor soft play, and they had like this water tower with kind of spiderweb levels made out of stretchy bands. She can now climb to the top of that. That is, it was a bit, I was watching and like, no, don't fall. I filmed it, because of course I did. And we didn't really see, I remembered what it was and now I don't. But the big thing was the rainbow swearing in ceremony. So she is now all officially a rainbow, and I'm very proud of her, and she's still having a lot of fun. She's now got like 4 badges already. They're really cranking through them. I feel like when, well, I was a daisy and a brownie, which is not the same level as the brownies here are, it took a lot longer to get badges, but maybe time goes a lot faster when you're older. So yeah, that's kind of us, and we'll just do without the whole little rant that did not help anyone. It certainly would not have shed any light on the situation, because I know nothing, and when you know nothing, you probably shouldn't evince too much of an opinion. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.